Warning. Warning. The following video is intended for educational and entertainment use only. The content will include disturbing images, violent scenarios, and explicit language. This video is intended for 18 plus and older audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tony evades the hitmen that night, but his brush with death makes him question his loyalties. Soon after, he is cooperating with the FBI. Not everyone is so lucky. In Philadelphia in 1981, Frankie Flowers Alfonso, a major bookmaker and mob associate, is refusing to kick up money to new mob boss, little Nicky Scarfo.
Well, with Nicky, he wanted Frankie Flowers to know that there's a new sheriff in town that you need to pay.
At the time, Eugene Milano is a Philly mafia soldier.
Frankie said that I'm not doing any business, and then if I was, I would kick in. Well, Philadelphia may be a big city, but within our life, everyone knows what everyone's doing.
Scarfo orders Salvatore Testa, one of his capos, to teach Frankie Flowers a lesson. Testa takes Milano along.
Sal told him, Frank, listen, we know what you're doing, and you need to kick in. This is your last warning. Still didn't listen.
In October 1981, Testa lures Frankie Flowers to a meeting near his home, close to the 9th Street Italian Market.
Sal hit him with a baseball bat, and I had about a 16-inch piece of steel, and we beat him pretty bad. He was in the hospital for a long time.
But the beating doesn't yield the expected result. Flowers still refuses to pay. Hoping to curry favor from the boss, Scarfo's capos begin planning murder.
After that, I think the only other punishment was death. I was put on the squad along with 4 or 5 other guys to kill Frankie Flowers.
But Milano's face is too well known in the narrow streets of South Philly.
People knew me in that neighborhood, so I went to my captain at the time and I told him, listen, it's not good. I mean, it's just, if you don't get away, it's not worth it. And they eventually took me off, and then the murder was carried out by some other individuals.
Frankie Flowers Alfonso is eventually murdered in July 1985. 2 gunmen shoot him down outside a cigarette store in the heart of the Italian Market in broad daylight. Milano is jailed for conspiracy to murder in 1987.
If you're in illegal business in South Philadelphia, you need to pay.
Alfonso, 52, was listed in serious condition in Pennsylvania Hospital's neurointensive care unit last night, where he was taken after he was found huddled on a sidewalk near 10th and Christian Streets with $1,700 in his pocket. The apparent heir to Angelo Bruno's crime family was beaten so savagely, at first believed he might have been shot. A blunt instrument, possibly a crowbar, shattered bones beneath both of Alfonso's eyes, broke his left jaw, shattered his left kneecap, and broke 2 bones in his lower left leg. A puncture wound consistent with the type made by a crowbar was found also on his lower left leg. It required 64 stitches to close extensive head wounds Alfonso suffered in the beating, which police believe was meant only as a warning from other organized crime figures. They may have gone a little too far, one Philadelphia homicide detective said. In May, the Daily News identified Alfonso as Bruno's successor. Other papers have said the Philadelphia mob is being led by Nicodemo, Little Nicky Scarfo of Atlantic City. Alfonso is expected to survive the assault, but may require surgery, a hospital spokesman said. Police said Alfonso's beating followed a dinner engagement with former disc jockey Jerry Blavitt at Dante's and Luigi's restaurant, 762 South 10th Street. It was while dining with Blavitt last May 27th that reputed mobster Steve Boris was shot to death.
Here's the story of Philip Leonetti on Frankie Flowers' assault.
A few characters I want to show you, just to curious to know what kind of reaction we're going to get. What do you think about when you see his picture here? Frankie Flowers, the Alfonso.
Okay, now Frankie Flowers and my uncle gave him a lot of chances. You know, he had the closed circuit TV with the boxing and made a ton of money, and my uncle wanted his end, you know. And he kept telling him, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't pay.
He wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't pay. So we beat him up bad, but he put him in the hospital for a few months, you know. And when he came out, he still didn't pay. So they killed him.
When you say beat him up bad, he stays in the hospital for a few months. What do you mean beat him up bad?
Beat him up. We broke everything in his body. I think Salvi and Gino beat him with iron pipes.
With the intention of killing him or just bringing him
My
pain?
uncle told him, say, yeah, make sure you kill him.
Okay.
You know, beat him up bad, but if he dies, he dies. That's how it was. But he lived, and when he woke up, he said he thought he got hit by a truck. Not sure, he didn't say anything.
Why do you think he didn't still come and say, okay, let me work with you?
I guess he wanted the money. I don't know. He didn't want to give up his money. Yeah.
Interesting.
So as you heard, we showed you the Philadelphia Daily News narrated, and we've also covered Philip Leonetti's interview from Patrick Bet-David on Value Entertainment. Now we'll be reading you from Philip Leonetti's own source material called Mafia Prince, which he co-authored with Scott Bernstein. Now, according to Mafia Prince, here's what we have regarding this story. 3 weeks after the Calabrese killing, little Nicky Scarfo turned to his attention on an aging mob associate named Frankie Flowers Alfonso. Frankie Flowers wasn't a made guy. He was associated, and he made a ton of money with Ange, referring to Angelo Bruno. They were involved in a lot of things together, both illegal and legal stuff. So when my uncle, referring to Nicky Scarfo, becomes boss, he sends for Flowers and the guy doesn't come in. So my uncle tells Salvi, referring to Salvatore Testa, I want you to give him a beating. Don't kill him, but shake him up. Make sure he knows that it's a new regime and he's going to pay like everyone else. Scarfo knew that Alfonso was a huge earner, and Scarfo hoped that a beating at the hands of Salvi Testa would bring the old timer around. Salvi and Gino Milano, who was one of Salvi's guys, set up a meeting with Flowers, and he falls for it and is walking to the meeting, which he was going to take place on the street in the 9th Street Italian Market in South Philadelphia. He was walking. Salvi and Gino jumped out from behind a car. Salvi has a baseball bat and Gino has a steel bar. And they gave Flowers a beating. They tuned him up pretty good. When an ambulance crew found Alfonso, he was semi-conscious and bleeding in the street. At the hospital, it was determined that his skull had been fractured, his jaw had been broken, several bones in his face were broken, and one of his kneecaps had been shattered. Alfonso would spend the next month in a South Philadelphia hospital recuperating. By the time he was out, it was almost Christmas, and Philadelphia's new mob don, Nicky Scarfo, decided to throw himself a party. This is the portion that we will conclude from Mafia Prince, and we also want to make sure that it's full disclosure. The reason why we have to put alleged in the title involving Salvatore Testa and Gino Milano is because neither one of these men have ever been convicted for the brutal assault that occurred on Frankie Flowers in the year of 1981. Salvatore Testa will meet his untimely demise in 1984, and Gino Milano, as of this year, 2025, is still alive. Years later, after the 1981, Alfonso would lose his life a few years later, and so was Salvatore Testa. However, Salvatore Testa had already passed away for the brutal murder of Alfonso that occurred in the trial of 1988, where other fellow mob associates were convicted of the murder, and some will serve a life sentence in prison, and some are just being released in the recent years. Therefore, for legal reasons, we will only put the term alleged, since we're only using the source materials to say why these two have been put in the public eye for the brutal assault of Frankie Flowers, the Alfonso. We will be covering in the future Frankie Flowers' life story from all the source material that we gathered. We will also go over the mob hit that unfortunately took his life around that time and go over the crime scene that took place during the 1980s and what that crime scene looks like as of today. If you have any suggestions or concerns, please let us know in the comments below and we'd be happy to cover any topic that you would like to share with us. This is Infinitely Productions. Please stay tuned for more content.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more of our content. Feel free to give your feedback and suggestions on what we should do next in the comments. This is Infinitely Productions. We love ya.